Boy. Ay, 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 ay. I tell you something, Casey. I know you and I were going to probably try and do something during halfway through, but between work, the humidity, the heat, the setup, everything regarding NJPW this summer alone, too, it's been wild. This G1 Climax has been no different. First four block one since 2002, I believe. We've had shockers, we've had surprises, we've had standout debuts, and finally, we're near the culmination of it all, where we will see who will go over the max. So, good evening, everybody. Whether you watch this on live or on demand, you know what this is if you've been to my channel before. If I am the Simple Man, and my name is Noah Foster, as I always talk about all things wrestling. Shout out, of course, to the ATW family on Twitter. And with me, as always, the wrestling encyclopedia, my fellow NJPW cohort. One day we might do commentary again for NJPW shows. Get those on the Jeff Meacham Network. We'll wait and see. Support the Network, folks. Always a pleasure to be chatting with the Wrestling Encyclopedia, Casey Gallagher. Casey, Yoshikashi Voss. I know you've been mostly listening to it as a podcast, but it's nice to see you once again as we're finally near the end of this freaking thing. And how are you? And what have you been figuring so far of this G1?
Oregashimasu, Noah-san. Whoo! Holy hot damn. This has been a G1 for the ages.
Well, again, like I said, over 20 years, if not 20 years, since we had our last four block one. And today we finally concluded block action as we have our final four. And I got to say, if I was to do a pick'ems, I had at least one that was going to be right. The other ones could have really gone several ways. And again, when you think about each block, who was a standout performer, who maybe were kind of underseeding our expectations, and then the what the type matches or results that we've gotten, and we can name at least one for each block, which we probably will get into. I'm definitely looking forward to tomorrow morning. And folks, if you want to watch the G1 Climax 52 in full, including the semifinals and the finals tomorrow too, it's simple. Go to njpwworld.com, and it's right there. It is 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning for the semifinals, and Thursday morning, exact same time, for the finals. Shout out, of course, to all things wrestling as AEW Dark continues doing their thing, and others do too. With that being said, Casey, let's go ahead and get right into the discussion. So, yeah, this G1 Climax was definitely something special and memorable, to say the least. And as our blocks have finally concluded, here are the A block results. As you can see, folks, in America, Kazuchika Okada took the A block. He defeated Lance Archer today in quite a main event match to remember. If there's one takeaway I could say about Lance Archer, he belongs in NJPW and needs to stick around too. Kazuchika Okada won with 10 points. Toru Yano, he lost out with only 2 points. Filthy Tom Lawler in his debut got 6 points. Jonah, the top dog, in his debut, an impressive 8 points, and he was never pinned or submitted.
Indeed, and yeah, he toppled Okada.
Yeah, let's not put that to the side. That's for darn sure. The Imperial unit, Jeff Cobb, had 6 points. Lance Archer, as I said, everybody dies, ends with 6 points. Bad luck Fale, despite what Gino says about he's a war hero, Kevin. Salute the man. He ends with 4 points. Well, Casey, it was entirely the monster block. And while the monsters...
And for good reason.
And the monsters did climb the mountain, and some of them even took the peak for themselves. What are some of your biggest takeaways from the A block? Who impressed you the most? Maybe some of your favorite matches. And overall, did this block meet your expectations based on its tagline?
It did. It absolutely did. Hi, Liz.
It's good to see Elizabeth.
Whoa. N1 Victory 2022. Good luck to you, girl.
Don't see about professional wrestling. No, I watch too much pro wrestling. I can't keep up with that stuff. She's my go-to star. So enjoy those, Elizabeth. So, Casey, the A block has finally concluded. What's your overall takeaways based on the results and what we see?
This is honestly the block that showed me why the A block is typically regarded as the block to watch. There is spectacle galore in this block. Just massive mountains of meat slapping each other for days. It was absolutely knuckin' futz.
That's a polite way of putting it. So I gotta say, one of my biggest takeaways was how Jeff Cobb and Lance Archer Yano. I think Yano's literally the last opponent he would ever want to face in the ring after what I've saw this G1 is Lance Archer. That's probably one of my favorite matches just under circumstances. Poor Fujita, though, good lord, the little guy used more as an asset than he originally probably anticipated.
Yeah, I feel bad for the young lions this G1.
Well, I'm sure they knew what they got into with Lance Archer, especially after the first day they were all not the F out. But kudos to Lance Archer saving all his energy to focus on Okada. And then as soon as Okada got in his face, he striked with that ridiculous choke slam. And we were off and running. Even pulled off his own Rainmaker. I thought Lance nearly had him.
I swore to God that was it. I swore to God that was it.
But again, Okada is Okada for a reason. As he was able to finally hit the Rainmaker after what Chris Charlton called Black Rainmaker from Lance Archer. Emphatic choke slams. And again, Lance wanted the best he could get out of Okada, and Okada brought it.
Yes, he did.
I will say this, though. When it came to the top dog, Jonah, his clashes with freaking Jeff Cobb and Lance Archer, they were definitely standouts for me. And the fact that Jonah is the only participant in this entire G1, his entire run, he was never pinned or submitted. He only lost due to 2 technicalities, countouts.
Right. Jonah and Tom Lawler probably impressed me the most this year in A Block. And I think Liz is right there.
Well, doesn't mean it will be the last time Lance Archer gets his hands on Yano. And if that happens again, I'm definitely for it. But I will give Yano credit. When it came to facing Okada, he brought back the original Yano. I thought I'd never see that again after the whole Chase Owens debacle for KLPW. But that was the most serious I've seen Yano since that point. And it was a very game bout. And I will say this, as Jeff Cobb literally, cleared the block last year, and it was just a standard 2 blocks. Kind of had some mixed results this year. I mean, again, Jonah, he literally crushed the Ichiban Kaiju. But I like how Jeff Cobb went the Yano route, and I thought he was going to get a count-out win there.
I honestly thought so too. And I love the fact, I mentioned this to you over Facebook,
of course,
that he showed that the competitors can still share a laugh with the fans. I honestly don't remember what it was he said. Not that I would have known in the first place. I'm not a Japanese speaker, but he made some sort of quip during the Lance Archer match, and I heard a laugh in the crowd, like a general laugh from the crowd, and it made my heart happy.
Yeah, well, again, wrestling needs that sort of humor in it, and it works even under the strongest of disciplines, New Japan Pro Wrestling. And you talk about Tom Lawler, he definitely connected with the fan base when it came to becoming the Gene one, as the jeans always fell off, and he had jean trunks underneath. But Tom Lawler manipulated Kazuchika Okada, I think, worse than Zack Sabre Jr.
Especially in Osaka. Especially in Osaka, they love Tom Lawler.
Yeah, there were shockers there too. But you talk about Tom Lawler bringing that MMA mixed background, former UFC participant, the inaugural and tremendously long reigning, strong openweight champion for NJPW Strong. I thought that he had a pretty good G1 for his first go around. And I think he definitely proved that he belongs with the best of them. Even Okada says, you want to go one more time? Okay, because Okada didn't even hit the Rainmaker on him. He trapped him in a roll-up.
Yep. And probably a little bit to your chagrin, but we did see the money clip a little bit more often in G1. Yes. And honestly, I feel like my statement from last year still stands. He's using the money clip more as a setup move than anything else.
Which he should.
Yeah.
The thing, though, about the money clip is why it is a submission-based hold. It more so wears down the opponent, because we all know the most emphatic of finishes Kazuchika Okada has is, of course, the Rainmaker. He pretty much won every match with the exception of that roll-up on Fifthly Tom Lawler. But that just goes to show how resourceful, how much Okada can take, and how aware of his environment that he is. So overall, A block was called the Monster Block. You had technical monsters, you had physical beasts, and then you had the Mount of Kazuchika Okada, who at the end of the day still proved why he is number one. That's really all I got to say about that. Any other takeaways you have? And as far as Jonah beating Okada, was that probably the biggest shock to you of this whole entire block?
Yes, absolutely. I was very much expecting Okada to pull out a win there. And Jonah came in and surprised everybody.
Yeah. Again, top dog. 1 year to the day, practically, where he became unleashed in New Japan Pro Wrestling and the wrestling world, whatever you want to call it. TMDK with Bad Dude Tito in his corner.
Or
Jonah,
Big Keats, as El Desperado called him.
oh, good Lord Almighty. Yeah, I will say this. I love the roundtable of commentators that we had. Lance Archer, ELP, Chase Owens, Jonah even. Jonah and Gino.
And
I knew
Dave
them both
Finlay.
commentary. Yeah, David Finlay was quite surprising in multiple ways. But as far as the A block goes,
we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah. Congrats to the Rainmaker. Will he make it rain 2 years in a row as we talk about who he will face tomorrow in the semifinals? As again, this 4-block action, it's A block winner versus B block winner. And we called the B block, or they taglined the B block as the block of survival. Was it survival for the participants or survival against an individual? Because up until block finale, we pretty much thought, I think everybody thought the B block was kind of locked in. But the B block told an emotional story of somebody who went through a change, never since hold tie, overcoming his past demons, including the Iron Glove of Iska. Tired you, what the hell were you thinking?
And very good question. Very good question for the Holy Emperor.
Yeah, and as we saw, Tama Tonga freaking did it. He did it. He overcame Chase Owens first. A bit of a shot against Bullet Club. He finally put away the past when it came to the Iron Glove of Iska, overcoming the Holy Emperor. And where it mattered the most in the finale, in his final match, where Jay White went undefeated. He hit him with the gun stun, and Tama Tonga won the B block. First time ever winning a block and going to at least the semifinals. I gotta admit, I did not think Tama Tonga was going to take this thing. I was wrong.
He proved all of us wrong. And honestly, he's now a pretty high pick for me to take the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. Honestly, I did not.
Oh, dear. Well, the lovely Miho Abe, beautiful muse. Again, that's none of my business. But, if they have to go different ways, as long as it's mutual, so be it. I wish them both the best. But I did kind of notice, though, that last time when, he did this, it's almost like maybe Taiji felt like he needed to move on. Again, New Japan Pro Wrestling relationships, connection is a whole different ball game.
It's a whole different animal.
Speaking of whole different animals, again, Tomohiro Ishii, always G1 MVP for me, but I got to wonder what matters more in the G1 when you think about some of the participants, especially in this field. Is it the results or is it the performance? Because Ishii, not a great scorer this year. He ended off with a win and quite a battle for pride that honestly might have been Sonata's best match in this whole thing, though the Chase Owens one is pretty good too. But when I look at this block, Sonata, Ishii, Great-O Khan, I kind of expected more from all three, particularly Great-O Khan, and Ishii, but that wasn't really much the case here.
And you gotta wonder, especially in Ishii's case, where he goes from here, because Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton were thinking during the finale, might we be seeing the end of Tomohiro Ishii in the G1 Climax?
He's been going at it for over a decade now in this thing alone. And again, the body only can go so far. And as the competition continues to really elevate with new faces, with younger, hungrier, let's just call it what we see it, physically better intact competitors, there comes a time where, again, you just got to realize that you can still fight, but maybe you can't fight as strong as you used to. I still believe that Stone Pitbull Wrestling is the hardest discipline you could face. Ask Chase Owens, who says that is the hardest he's been fit in his life, and he beat the Stone Pitbull with the package pile driver.
Yes.
So what other takeaways do you have regarding this block as far as maybe standout matches, performance participants, what underwhelmed you maybe? This was the block of survival after all, and as far as survival, one man stood tall, but it kind of was pretty much a two-person race for most of this.
For most of it, yeah. And it honestly,
I do agree about that.
Yeah, Yeah,
Continue.
that much I did see happening, but I was pretty sure Jay was going to win the block.
Right.
And I've never been so happy to be wrong in my life. Tama Tonga has been working towards this for 8 years.
He finally
And
did
it's
it.
so cool to see him finally get the nod at the expense of the man who kicked him out of Bullet Club.
And might I add, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. He pinned.
Which sets him up for a shot down the line.
Bingo. Now you're getting what I'm saying. Yeah, and again, Sonata calls himself the New Hope, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Middle of the ground, he got 6 points. Tomoyoshi ended the thing here with 4 points, beating Sonata in the finale. Tama Tonga with the pinnacle win. He ended the thing with 10 points, beating Jay White in the finale, who basically went undefeated up to this point with 10 points. The Holy Emperor Taiji, he got a win over Chase Owens and Tomoyoshi. And again, Taiji, they feel like they're destined to fight each other forever. But that just goes to show how far Ishii has pushed people to be better. Taiji ended the thing with 4 points. Greto Khan, all hell. He also beat Ishii. While Ishii may not have the strongest wins, I feel he brought the best out of several of these people that actually got the win over him, particularly Greto Khan, Taiji, and Chase Owens. Greto Khan ended with 4 points, and Chase Owens also ends with 4 points.
We have a lot to think about for field selection come next year, because given a lot of the performances and results and mindsets, especially of the competitors that are left over aside from Tama Tonga, we could be seeing a very different B block next year.
I just hope they go back to the standard format, because again, this 4 thing was a headache to keep
It
up
was
with.
too much. It was almost too much to follow.
Yeah, no kidding. A 4 to 5, and then all 8 matches on one day. It was a blah, 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 blah. I had to watch some of these days literally after I got off work, because I had to get up early, which also made it be a headache in itself. But such is life. All right.
Also,
that means, go ahead.
Also, you mentioned that you had to watch some of these after work.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that for the finale and we can call it together?
Finale is Thursday. I work till 4:30, so I'm probably knowing me and how stubborn I am. Watch the finale live and be like, I'm working, because I am working from home. It's one of those things where it's just the way the schedules are. It's hard to do, but I do think we will be calling some NJPW stuff live in the fall, certainly too, based on some announcements we'll talk about that they also just closed, including one today. But let's go ahead and talk about these blocks real quick, because I do think we need to do some sort of call-by-call retrospective, at least the finale match, if nothing else.
Right.
All right. So as we talk about the block of survival, a balance of technical. Let's be honest, that block was more so technical rather than physical when you think about the participants and what they brought forward. I mean, the most physical participant was freaking Tomohiro Ishii. Everyone else brought more miles. Everyone else brought more of a technical standpoint into that block, whether it's Taiji, Greto Khan, Chase Owens particularly, which, again, Chase Owens, for his, I think it was his first G1-2. Not bad run. Or second, excuse me. I thought he was in another one, but I couldn't remember. Sometimes they all run together. Again, sometimes it feels like it's weird. Last year's feels like a blur.
It does. It really does. Crazy what a worldwide pandemic can do for time.
Yeah, no kidding. And that was the first one after the pandemic, and that was in the fall. Maybe that's also the reason. Again, this is the most normal year and probably one of the spread out years of New Japan Pro Wrestling that they've had, especially when it comes to exposure and growth and roster standpoint, with the Strong brand really picking up. Anyway.
That's why Tom Lawler was in the A block.
And he rightfully deserved to be. I could definitely see him participating last year.
Either that or Rocky was just pissed at him. Well,
Rocky's always busy. Great match, by the way, with the freaking... What happened to you? There we go. Great match, by the way, with the freaking X-Division Champions, people Mike Bailey.
I see what you did here.
What the heck happened? Did I press something accidentally? Probably. But the little menu. Yeah, watch on my part. What are you going to do? Or maybe I segue into something. I don't know. Sometimes I just do stuff out of nowhere. I just talk wrestling. Hi, Jeff. Be sure to watch Talk Wrestling on the Jeff Meacham Network following, not my NXT, live on the Jeff Meacham Network at 10 minutes Standard Time tonight, folks. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the C block. If I remember correctly, I think they called this the All-Star block, because you figure about multiple-time winner Hiroshi Tanahashi, multiple-time winner Tetsuya Naito, the 2008 winner Hiroki Goto, and then you had Evil. And Kenta, notice what I did with Evil, by the way. And
that's what I was laughing at the whole
oh,
way.
okay.
I did see that.
Thank you. Rightfully so. Ban the House of Torture from New Japan Pro Wrestling. But I digress. And Aaron Hanawe, who had his debut. And as we saw, as I let you talk about this, I'll just go ahead and run through the scores here. Hiroshi Tanahashi ends with 6. Goto ends with 6. I still cannot believe it happened today. Tetsuya Naito, in less than 3 minutes, beats Zack Sabre Jr. to end with 8 points and win the C block, while Zack Sabre Jr. ended with an irate tantrum that I have not seen off him in years.
And I love Naito's reaction to it.
Oh, he was egging him on. That was like,
totally.
Tranquilo.
The pitch.
Tranquilo.
The pitch from Naito. Swinging a high fly ball deep to right center field. Back is Bushi. Back to the track, to the wall. He leaps, and he makes the catch.
And he makes it to first base. Oh, good grief. And I just got to recently watching a Field of Dreams highlight. Thanks, Stat Boy. That being said, Zack Sabre Jr.
All love to Mike Caldwell.
He's cool. Go check out the Sports Bar, too, folks. Right there on the Jeff Meacham Network. Again, my channel is in cooperation with Jeff Meacham Network as well as FTW Productions. So there you go. Zack Sabre Jr. again ends with 8. Aaron Hanawa in his first G1. Ouch. But still.
But the big win. The one big win.
Yeah, I would say the key win to really define what this block could be for our expectations as he beat the Ace in his opening match. That is the 3-time G1 Climax winner. Just saying.
Yeah.
That's got to count for something.
A 3-time winner, the one guy in all of Japanese wrestling with more time and more wins in the G1 Climax than anybody.
Yep. And Okada's like pretty much second. And also, Elizabeth, my favorite from C Block, Zach's temper tantrum, still laughing about 12 hours later. Well, I am
Don't blame you.
I thought the VAR thing was hilarious when, again, I love when Tanahashi and Zack Sabre Jr. mix it up. And at the end of the day, it was a roll-up. You could say the ref was opposition. Maybe someone was underneath the rope. But again, VAR. There's no VAR. This isn't Europe. Still was a win for Tanahashi and a very key win for him as well, as it was his first win in this year's G1. Then Kenta, he got a bit of redemption on the Ace, basically making sure the Ace could not be a factor in the finale or winning the block at all, getting his win back from Wrestle Kingdom at the expense of that permanent scar he has on his back. Yeesh. But hey, at least it's the best-selling offer. I'm sorry, I don't read Japanese.
Yeah, we're still working on that.
Yeah. Sorry, Rosetta Stone. Kenta ends with 6, and then there was another guy that just had the same match over and over again. No one gives a damn. All right.
Although he did get taken out by who was it that rolled him up in 44 seconds?
That was Zack Sabre Jr. I will say that was Zack Sabre Jr. for me had the more memorable performance of this block when it came to #shenanigans. Hi, JJ. And overall, just the way he approached this. He was actually my pick to win this block. But how it started last year with taking out the very men that won the block this year, I just didn't expect it to be that sort of match in that length of time.
Yeah.
So your takeaways, Casey, on the C block.
C block is the block of... Actually, no, wait. That's the D block. I was going to say block of unpredictability. That's absolutely D block.
Oh, man. Operation Chaos nearly happened. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah, it was very close to happening.
That was the block that was hardest to keep up with. Let's just put it out there.
Can you imagine a 7-way tie? What in the hell would Geto and Dick Togo have had to think of to get themselves out of that situation?
That's a question for Chairman Sugabayashi because I would have no clue. That's a statistics nightmare. But anyway, what's your thoughts on the C block? In other words, I would say the performance block.
I would agree. I would honestly agree. Aaron Hanare unfortunately left walking the streets of rage on his own. So much for being Mr. X.
Ouch.
Yeah, go play. I'm still trying
to beat Streets of Rage 4 on my own. It's friggin' hard, but
it's hard. You definitely need people with you.
I know. I'm a soloist. Anyway, continue. Back to this.
But yeah, this ultimately came down to the most gifted technical wrestler on the eastern side of the planet. But as was uh, Destino from last year, he learned a very important lesson.
Yeah.
Hasinayo.
He came out with a jacket that said all or nothing for a reason. In a way, why this wouldn't be Naito's theoretically last G1. It probably was his last chance to ultimately get the one goal I think he has left, and that is to be in the main event of the Tokyo Dome as Victor with the title and
get
have
that
the
damn
roll call. Exactly. Because again, it was Kenta that took that away from him. And as you look here at Kenta versus Naito, Kenta got the better of him in that scenario. It's funny that Naito started off with a 0-2 deficit, and then he went 4 straight and took the block. I mean, Goto got the better of Naito, and Goto has had the better of and Naito has the better of Goku over several times. But also, I'm surprised Goku's jaw held up after that match with Tanahashi.
Yeah, right.
Good.
I was
Lord.
actually pulling for him because I heard his son wanted his dad to win the G1,
Yes.
and dude, that I wanted it so bad.
Yeah, and again, the motivation of a father when it comes to his son's support, it was definitely on display here for the Savage Warrior. And we learned about Kenta's fetish with pulls and what sort of pull that is that Goto has, as Kenta used that to his advantage. Kenta, for me, was, I felt, the most fun and relaxed performer in this block until it came to Tanahashi, where he wanted to literally break the man in half.
As he usually does.
Well, again, Kenta, he is one of the stiffest strikers in the game for a reason. He's even called out Katsuyori Shibata. And also, Sexy Jr., he called out anybody who has a problem with him calling himself the best in the rest of the world, they can get on a plane to Bloody Japan. Yeah, I wonder if that could foreshadow something. But I digress. Anyway, that's right. This was called the Block of Death, which, honestly, to me, though, I would think that would be the D block. Because, again, we almost had Object Chaos. But they tagline what did. A D block, I don't think, had a tag, actually. It was just, I feel like, the optimistic block. But that being said, C block winner, Tetsuya Naito. Can he accomplish another G1 Climax win and claim a Destino that he hasn't accomplished yet? We'll just have to wait and see. All right.
We thought 4 was his lucky number.
Yeah.
Maybe it's actually 13.
Yeah, and again, when you think about, places, statistics, superstitions, there's the champion finale performance in the G1 that bites them in the butt again. It cost Jay White here. We saw Shaka's in Osaka. And again, when it came to certain venues, it played in the professional wrestlers' favor with the best statistic most of the time. It's amazing how much of that really works in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I can't name all the venues, and they were also visiting several new venues during this G1 as well. And I'm sure those will come into play going forward. Again, the most prominent venues for me when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling: Sendai, Corrigan Hall, and the Budokan, and the other stadium they do now too, which I think is pretty cool.
And the Tokyo Dome.
Yes, but of course the Tokyo Dome is once a year, as it should be. Although sometimes they've done more than once, but that's a whole different reason.
Looking at you, Wrestling Grand Slam.
That wasn't so bad, I'll admit.
Oh no, I'm not saying it was a bad show. I'm just saying.
No. I know exactly what you're saying. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about the D block, and if we can come up with a word for it while we've been throwing around adjectives, we'll see what we can try and do.
Let's just call it Operation Chaos.
Well, that's what Chris Charlton and Kevin Kelly were hoping for, and looking at this, Jesus, you nearly got it. Yoshihashi,
damn near got it.
Yoshihashi with probably his best G1 performance ever.
Yes.
6 points. David Finlay in his debut, 6 points.
Shocked the world 3 times over.
Yeah, big time.
And Chris Charlton popped hard for his win over Juice Robinson, which, for my money, may very well have been the match of the G1 this year.
When you think about Finn Juice being former IWGP World Tag League winners and IWGP Tag Team Champions, Impact Tag Team Champions, and how it all just fell apart as Juice Robinson went on his own way and David Finlay became the rebel and fighting TMDK on behalf of his family's name with the family heirloom, you very well could be onto something, because that felt like the most personal battle in this entire G1. It almost looked like they were trying to kill each other. and David Finlay, he got the win. In what probably was the most pinnacle match for me of this entire block, it showed me that David Finlay, he is out to prove a point and stand out on his own. And then he took it from there when he beat Will Ospreay and took the title for himself. It's amazing how much.
Close second for me.
Yeah, it's amazing how much Juice Robinson and David Finlay have basically played to be an IWGP United States champion. Well, after this G1, there's no doubt that Will Ospreay, he is the possessor of the title, despite the shenanigans of Juice Robinson. But David Finlay, he's worthy to not only challenge for it, he's worthy to hold the damn thing.
And I honestly believe he can after this G1. He's first in line for a title shot.
Yeah.
Then I believe Juice gets another one, or is it Chase? Because I know Chase is owed a shot.
I'm about to say, Chase said he's owed a shot. I think Chase deserves a shot more than Juice Robinson. I think Chase even had a better score in this G1 than Juice Robinson, as Juice ended with 4 points, the lowest in the block. El Phantasmo, also big moment for El Phantasmo, pulling off a Shingo Takagi. When you think about it, he's transitioning out of junior heavyweight to heavyweight, pulling out a new move and beating Shingo Takagi in the block finale, preventing Shingo being a part of, well, Operation Chaos.
Yes. Of course, Operation Chaos was already out the window by the time that match happened because Will Ospreay beat Juice Robinson in the
opener.
In the opener.
As he rightfully should have, and as you see, he ended with the highest score, 8 points, while Yujiro Takahashi, well, at least he got Peter back after the one night stand with VLP. He ends with 6 points.
Yep. As does everybody else besides Will and Juice.
Pretty much. So, yeah, Yoshihashi, tremendous heart. He fought extremely hard. And honestly, I feel his win over David Finlay was pretty much the upset of the block. If David Finlay got that win, he probably would have been the winner here because he already owned a victory over both Will Ospreay and Juice Robinson. I think David Finlay would have won if Yoshihashi didn't beat him.
I am inclined to agree.
And then, of course, Shingo Takagi, again, rough start out of the gate. Again, it shows what sort of standard we're setting in pro wrestling with all these new names coming across now that, borders are more open, visas are easier to get about daggone time. And again, David Finlay, he had a great performance in his debuting G1. And El Phantasmo saying bye to Despy. I'm very curious how he takes himself going forward as a heavyweight. I appreciate the fact that ELP took this tournament a whole lot more serious than, well, the J Cup, for example, and other stuff. I feel except for the whole Juice Robinson match, which really screwed him in the ass, which made it become a potential winner into a spoiler, and we saw what that led to. So, this block of circumstances, to say the least, where you almost had literally a some-way tie. Lord help New Japan Pro Wrestling. It was something special.
It was definitely something special. Honestly, as far as Elizabeth's comment, in terms of the immediate fallout from his decision, I'd kind of have to agree. But in terms of reinventing his character and taking a different direction, we'll see what happens.
Well, again, you got to consider they have another tour coming up, and they did announce what their next show is going to be, as we'll talk about that here in a moment. But I will say this. Congrats to our Final Four. Now we know the winner of this year's G1 Climax 32 will either be Renmeka Kazuchika Okada, previously a 3-time winner, Kentama Tonga, who I feel has nothing to lose, everything to gain, and probably the most dangerous of the field. Surprise us and get the win here and go on to maybe face Jay White at Wrestle Kingdom for the title.
He's beaten Okada before.
I'm about to say, literally, last year was the turning point in his career, in my opinion, because he got the win over Okada that stopped Okada from doing the full-on run-through of the entire thing as champion. Case in point. And, of course, that will be our first semifinal match. The other semifinal match, it will be Tranquilo Tetsuya Naito, who, again, is on a destino of all or nothing, it seems, or his opponent, and a first-time ever match, Casey.
Yeah, think about that for a second.
I'll say, that's even something else in itself. Will Ospreay, who has yet to win the G1 Climax, but has literally done everything else. So what are your thoughts regarding this Final Four setup? I mean, again, putting you on the spot, who's your pick to win?
any one of these four could take it, honestly, and I would not be mad.
I'll say they all deserve it.
They've all earned it. Is the proper turn of phrase. As for my pick to win it, it's probably either going to be Tama Tonga or Okada.
So you think that Tama Tonga or Okada, the winner of that semifinal match, is going to be your predominant winner, you feel, of this G1?
I believe so, yes. Because
Well,
those two, Tama Tonga especially,
right.
has had this coming to him and building and building and building for a long damn time.
Yeah, I would say highly underrated for how long it's been since he's freaking had this moment. Again, he's been one of the most pinnacle parts of Bullet Club, the recruiter per se, the deal maker, and now he's Hontai. He's on an honorable path. It's like a reset, and he's just literally 2 matches away from winning the biggest thing possible in New Japan Pro Wrestling, the G1 Climax.
Talk about doing it for the family.
And no kidding, Tongaloa get well soon. When the young gun is regretting his decision. Just saying. So here's my thinking, because we've seen Okada, Jay White countless times. This is Okada's way to get back to the top. But no matter what, he is the face of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
He is the mountain.
Period. There's no denying that. And then you have Tetsuya Naito, who at this point, he's just tranquilo. He goes with emotions, but I feel like in him, there's a sense of internal pride where if he doesn't get this win, I don't necessarily think he truly ever will be the same or fully recover. And then there's Will Ospreay, who's been out to prove a point about himself, despite what critics, including Omega, and others might say about him, holding himself to a certain standard. He's absolutely accomplished everything possible, and he has yet to win the G1 Climax as well. So you got 2 previous winners, and you got 2 potential first-time winners. And then I figure about the matches that could be set up here. Do you get Okada versus Naito 4 this year? I'm just saying the previous 3 bouts were over the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Keep that in mind, Casey. Tama Tonga, Will Ospreay. How will those 2 clash with each other, with Hontai taking on the United Empire, which, of course, is no stranger considering what we've seen lately with United Empire and that. And then you have Tetsuya Naito and Tama Tonga. There's a lot of similarities I can see with these 2 men when you think about the way that they carry themselves and what they hold themselves to. So there's a lot of unique dynamics here, but I've already seen enough craziness for 1G1. And if there's one thing I know watching New Japan Pro Wrestling for the last, I think, 10 years now, if I've lost count, you don't bet against Kazuchika Okada.
You really don't. It's very hard to bet against the Rainmaker and the Ace, for that matter.
Right, and we've seen Okada versus Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom, where honestly their match felt bigger than the IWGP Heavyweight Championship match, and that involved Kota Ibushi.
Yeah.
Put that in perspective. That was last year too, not this year.
Honestly, I think I'm kind of with Liz here. As far as the 2 finalists go. Personally, I'm picking Tama to win, but again, any of these 4 could win this G1, and I would not complain.
As long as nobody gets injured and we have an audible call, because again, that last year's G1
for the love of
finale,
God,
it's going to be a dark note in G1 Climax history. But the thing about what you said and what she's saying, I do get that. It's like this win for Naito is over a year in the making, considering last year's G1, he was taken out day 1. Now he's won the block and overcame the very person that took him out in the first place in record time. One of the shortest G1 Climax matches in history. I still can't believe it. So, again, it comes down for me towards the approach to Wrestle Kingdom and this fall with the upcoming tours too, and who shows up across Strong and what other tours they got coming up in NJPW besides the upcoming tournaments. We got the World Tag League. Very curious what that field's going to be. Junior and heavyweight wise. So, again, we will wait and see. But that being said, that's literally coming tomorrow, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our 2 semifinal matches and the whole
set your alarms accordingly.
Yeah, and the whole card itself, which I haven't had a chance to look up. I know Chris Charles said it would have been available at noon Japanese time, so it's probably going to be up right now on their site. So I can probably look it up here in a moment if we want to talk about that. But let's go ahead and talk about some other stuff they did disclose as we talk about ahead of New Japan Pro Wrestling. As they talk about today, also on the block finale, I say, good sir, they're going back to the UK. We're getting Royal Quest.
Royal Quest 2.
for 2 days in a row. Why is the wrestling standard for big shows now becoming back-to-back events? Good Lord.
I can tell you why. Because it gives your talent more time to do what they need to do.
True, but it's also more exhausting on the fans too. But again, if the fans are that dedicated and they want it, they will see it, and certainly I will. As it was announced today, Royal Quest 2 will emanate from the Crystal Palace Indoor Arena on Saturday, October 1st, and Sunday, October 2nd, which is going to be very unique considering the first time we had Royal Quest. We had, of course, British Heavyweight Championship defended, Neverweight Championship defended, still held by Carl Anderson. We also, of course, had one of my favorite matches ever, Kazuchika Okada versus Minoru Suzuki in the main event for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. So
what
honestly,
freaking brawl.
that took the Rainmaker to a whole nother level. He tested his grit and merit and spirit like any other match beyond and above that day, particularly. So,
and then, of course, we got the challenge from Sonata after the fact.
Well, I mean, and again, he is New Japan Pro Wrestling's new hope, so maybe he will have a match there too. But you talk about the win that Jonah got over Okada. You talk about Zack Sabre Jr. challenging people to come over here and prove they're the best technical wrestler. You talk about maybe Tama Tonga getting a shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship after pinning Jay White. Could that UK show, for example, maybe be where some of that stuff takes place?
Only time will tell.
I definitely see Aussie Open. I see Rev Pro representation being involved in this, but
absolutely.
I'm definitely looking forward to this event, and maybe they can get the bastard Pac. But again, we'll have to wait and see. And match card will be up in 3 hours and 20 minutes. Trophy entries. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. See, again, they're all over across the other side. I appreciate that, Elizabeth. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I've been waiting for them to go back to the UK, and I've been waiting to see more professional wrestling from the UK scene. When I look at over the top wrestling, for example, and Pro Wrestling Eve, thinking about men and women's wrestling, thinking about crossovers, promotions, collaborations, etc. I'm extremely looking forward to this, Casey.
As am I. No guarantees I'll be able to watch it live, depending on what goes down that weekend. But you can absolutely rest assured that I will check it out.
All right. Well, we talk about collaborations and competitions. We've seen how NJPW Strong has thrived and grown. They've crowned their first ever Strong brand tag team champions in United Empire's Aussie Open. Spoiler alert, folks. As, of course, they overcame the likes of the Dark Order, the Factory, Christopher Daniels, and so many other great teams, great tag team division. And yep, TMDK included as well. We also know that we just had Music City Mayhem, where John Moxley had a hell of a war with El Desperado, involving skewers. Yeesh. Kushida, of course, has made his return to New Japan Pro Wrestling. He faced his time splitter partner in Alex Shelley in a very great match that went to a draw. Kushida now wrestling on Impact Wrestling. And also a whole lot more has happened, including collaborative announcements that it sounds like the fans will finally be able to act like fans again, fully versus clapping, come the conclusion of this G1, which I think is long overdue. The disciplinary measures that the fans have followed through with, except for maybe, 5% of the time where you couldn't just help but gasp, like Jonah jumping up and squashing Okada, for example.
Or laughing at Jeff Cobb's quips.
Well, it was worth it.
Yeah.
I feel it's a true merit to professional wrestling and the fan base for how important this is to them to still keep up with, react to, and know that we care. But I don't know about you. I'm ready to hear the Japanese crowds audibly again.
I was born ready.
I just hope it first happens at Corgan. I mean, Jay White, he instigated that, of course, back at Dominion where he won it, of course. But again, I can only imagine the levels of fear, not just from the Japanese contingency, but commentary and others too, when that happened. But again, we'll have to see what comes from that. And as far as something else I could think of that was recently talked about, so AEW, NJPW, we've already had Lance Archer involved in the G1. I really feel like that's not where we're going to stop at, because Mark Griffith, he showed a very interesting graphic. Can you imagine how much AEW could play in the Wrestle Kingdom, challenging participants in NJPW on their turf? Maybe you finally get the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Maybe you get back the cleaner, Kenny Omega. Maybe you get Thunder Rosa involved in some sort of way when we talk about what's ahead before Wrestle Kingdom. Because, Casey, I don't know about you, but I'm extremely excited before November. What a tremendous accomplishment and time to be a fan. As NJPW and Stardom set historic X Over, that's the name of the show, on November 20th, where not only it will be both male and female wrestling in mixed tag team matches and championship action galore, they will crown the first ever IWGP Women's World Heavyweight Champion. And this title,
Maya Watami, let's go.
All right, spoiler alert. That's my pick. That's my pick right there. Former Ring of Honor Women's Champion. I'm just gonna go with that. I can respect that. But yeah, as we heard, World Wonder Ring Stardom's owner, probably gonna screw up this name, Takaki Kadani, announced on July 29th that the company's roster will compete for a championship at this X Over show on November 20th, 2022. And the winner of this title will not only defend it in Japan, they will defend it in America too, on NJPW Strong platforms and more. You've already called out who you think is going to pretty much be the winner. So you're just giving it right away to the icon of Stardom, Maya Watami, who might as well be the ace of women's wrestling in New Japan.
And I vote her first opponent. Oh, that would be me. That would be me.
Hey, Dacia, in case you heard that too. Yeah. Anyway, continue your thought.
I personally vote for her first opponent. Oh God, what was her name? She was tagging with somebody. I want to say it was Allison Kay, but I feel like I'm wrong.
Sienna?
Might be Sienna. All I know is former Stardom participant, former Stardom competitor. She was at the Empower show.
Oh, okay. I think I know who you're referring to. Again, Empower was great stuff. And Mickey James, you've done all the best. So here's my thing, though, when I think about this IWGP Women's World Championship.
Which, by the way, is long overdue.
Well, there are discrepancies with that when you think about NJPW focuses primarily on men. And again, the Bushiroad collaboration, we're working inside that. But we've seen the likes of Starlight Kid, Maya Watami, and Saya Kamatami, of course, the holder of the Wonder of Stardom championship still. We've seen them crossover. We saw that great match. That was one of my standout matches, definitely, of this Wrestle Kingdom last year. I still go back and rewatch that. So, I mean, Starlight Kid could be a great, I feel like, representative. She actually was voted one of the top 15 most predominant women's Japanese professional wrestlers on the planet by the Japanese fans. So kudos to her based on that top 15 list that CNRN shared, based on just a poll vote by Japan fans, which I find very interesting with the likes of Starlight Kid and Maya Watami were the only two women on that list. I follow the Grand Prix, though, to a degree when I can, thanks to Fightful and Sonel Slad and all type of Keeping It Strong and other stuff, too, that I try and keep up with all this stuff. And they're doing,
Samurai
of course,
News.
Yeah, and they're, of course, doing their version of their G1 in the 5-star Grand Prix, where right now Utami is leading the red block with Asume. I believe she is still the high-speed champion. But I think about the holder of the white belt, Saya Kamatami. Apologize if I screw up her name. She just beat the former longest reigning multiple defense champion in Black Peach, Momo Watanabe. And Utami finally got her first pin over the current champion with the red belt that took it off her. I'm, of course, about the World Star Championship in Sarai, the leader of God's Eye. And, of course, Suzuki right now is leading the blue block, and she is definitely somebody to watch. I feel she's the next standout in Stardom, although Lady C has been impressing me too. But, and Tem, always got to go with Tem Nakano, all right? But it's funny to me that you didn't mention one name that has recently come back to Stardom, and again, she still hits as hard as freaking ever.
Yeah, Kairi Hojo.
Why didn't you think about her towards this title?
Because I completely... That would be an interesting match. Starlight Kid versus Kairi Hojo.
Oh, boy. The elbow drops. I mean, it was Starlight Kid that confronted Kairi to begin with. But also, Kairi, depending on the result against Saya, that's right, because Kairi is challenging for the white belt. So, again, Saya, you got your work cut out for you, representing Queen's Quest. Utami, by the way, still leader of Queen's Quest, so in case people are wondering. I feel like Starlight Kid at this point is leader of Odeyo Tai. And, of course, the Mundo. I know people thought about Thekla and Julia, which is also great representatives. So, I'm very curious who will be involved in this tournament, how will be decided. I hope it's not drawing straws like the tag match, for a friggin' example. And I'm curious how this title is presented here in the States and who they might face. Maybe some people from AEW like, I don't know, Jamie Hayter, she fixes her nose. I still say Jamie Hayter is due to be a champion. Toni Storm, who has Stardom history, might finally go over to NJPW strong and maybe challenge for it. Thunder Rosa, who's no stranger to challenging Japanese pro wrestling, to defend her title against Miya Yamashita, she might challenge for the belt as well. So I'm optimistic towards this. So that just makes me wonder, could we see this title being defended at Wrestle Kingdom? And if so, against who? Like, Casey, think about it. Let's just try and maybe speed forward. Look at the clock. Look at the entire wrestling industry. I know it's a lot easier said than done, especially with Killer Kelly back. Yay.
Yeah, right.
Please, Killer Kelly, show up in Japanese pro wrestling. Anyway.
Do it. Do it now.
Look, I don't know who's next for her on her list. I just know that Masha has marked the Knockouts champion. If Masha smashes Jordan Grace and I get Masha versus Killer Kelly at Bound for Glory, take my freaking money. That being said, and of course, we'll be calling Bound for Glory on the Jeff Beecham Network. Stay tuned for that, folks. But that being said, Casey, again, you kind of like crowned your champion. But what's your expectations for this title? What do you expect it to do that will be different versus the titles in Stardom already?
I expect the IWGP World Champion, Women's World Champion, to be more along the lines of what the U.S. Champion is for the men. A more violent showcase than just about anything they have.
You look at the clips on Twitter with some of the spots in Stardom, and you're like, damn. Again, they of course have also strong spirit background.
You do your best Ron Simmons impression.
Yeah, well, me. Also, they focus more on a kicking-based approach in their style versus, physical, full-on, closed-fist contact. Although they're no stranger to doing that either, and Momo's no stranger to using a wrench. At least he's not Show.
I was just going to say, I wonder if she and Show were under the same learning tree.
Oh, God. Please do not tell me that Show and Momo are going to be in a mixed tag match together at X Factor. I will hate it. Because I only like one of the two people. But I digress. And thinking about mixed tag team action, will I finally get to see Mayu Itami and Hiroshi Tanahashi tag together? That would be something special.
Oh, Star Ace. Let's go.
Star Ace, whatever you want to call it. Let's go ahead and see what you guys say. One of you guys watched the amazing Tokyo Princess Cup semifinals and finals. Miyu Watanabe became a star over the weekend.
I did not.
I have not had a chance to watch it. I actually just got done watching something else in women's wrestling. Support women's wrestling, folks. On CCW, Blood in the Sand, as they celebrate their 1-year anniversary. Kylan King still their champion. Let's freaking go. Renegade Twins, Vita Von Star, representing the Network Championship. Kayla Sparks. Fun women's promotion you could catch on Tile Match Network. Support independent wrestling, folks. And I agree with what Flago says regarding like Dark and Elevation. It's a chance for talent to grow and test themselves. And again, you take opportunity when you can. And people have made a name for themselves through that platform and only gotten better. Respect it. I'm going to be watching Dark here shortly. So, again, we got the the semifinals of the G1 tomorrow. And then following that, we have the finale. We got Royal Quest coming back this fall. We have a crossover super show with Stardom and NJPW in November. The Grand Prix is underway in Stardom World. And we're just waiting to see right now what's next and what else is ahead. Internationally wise, as they did say, they're not stopping yet. New Japan Pro Wrestling. We've seen the likes of FTR. We've seen the likes of Eddie Kingston. We've seen Jon Moxley show up now for NJPW Strong. Who's to say Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Bryan Danielson won't show up next? Or Pac, who still has the All-Atlantic Championship. I still want to see him defend that against Tomohiro Ishii one-on-one because Ishii never got the chance to challenge for it. That might be what's next for him.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I suppose so. That being said, let's see here. I would be intrigued if someone from Tokyo Joshi Pro selected in the tournament to determine the first IWGP Women's Champion. Never know. Yeah, I mean, that's a thing, too. I mean, we saw the kind of like little invasion angle that another promotion had in Stardom, taking on Stardom talent. So I would not rule that out. Again, with how collaborative professional wrestling has become nowadays on a global scale, I want to see what Impact might do with their Knockouts division. Put somebody in there into it. Because we've seen more so the NJPW partnership showcased through Impact Wrestling than we have for AEW. It just might be a different, I feel like, balancing act at this point. And again, Lance Archer, man, you are still a headliner. Tony Khan, damn well better respect that when you come back to All Elite Wrestling.
I think he does respect that. That's why nobody wants to fight him.
Well, people need to step up or get. Well, no, he's not Blackpool Combat Club, but he might as well be. All right. Well, that being said, folks, thanks for tuning into this simple, open forum focusing on Japanese pro wrestling, particularly as we looked at the G1 Climax and what's ahead in New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom. A lot of exciting stuff, and I'm looking forward to how it all culminates in what could be a one-of-a-kind Wrestle Kingdom 17 AEW involvement too. Men and women rise. Let's freaking go. Before we conclude, I'm just going to say one more thing here regarding women's wrestling. Chris Statlander, get well soon. I know you will be a champion upon your return. Man, I just feel so bad for her. I really do. Again, she has done so much to raise her game and make herself a prominent spot in AEW, and then she blows out her ACL or tears it. Same injury of Bailey. So 6 to 8 months. That's no joke. Take care and get well soon.
Indeed. Yep.
All right.
We'll see you back on TV sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I hear that. Going to listen to the Braves baseball now. G1 finish line is near. Can't wait for the finale. You and me both. 2 days. We have our A versus B and C versus D tomorrow morning. And then we crown the winner Thursday morning. Casey, whether you got work or not, I'm going to be up live. We'll see if you are too. Thursday, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and tomorrow morning, Wednesday, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So stay tuned for more on that, folks. But that's all we got for now. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be definitely back once this thing concludes and we have our winner. Before we conclude, Casey, again, always a pleasure. Anything you want to plug and promote, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CTroop19. You can find me on YouTube. Channel name is Luke Lynch. Subscribe, like, comment, share, do the whole thing under the umbrella of FTW Productions. You can find me on Twitch, Luke12Lynch. Do all that. And you can find me caught somewhere in time and in the middle of the hottest summer on record, awaiting the finale to the most wild and crazy G1 in 20 years with great anticipation.
TikTok. That's all I got to say. TikTok. And Karrion Kross, you're still a young boy, by the way, as far as Minoru Suzuki goes. What is that guy up to anyway? Anyway, Minoru Suzuki.
Damn to find now.
Probably breaking somebody's jaw.
Yeah, more likely than not.
Yeah.
Let's be honest there.
I mean, again, it's Minoru Suzuki. Castanina Ray.
Yep.
All right. Well, with that being said, folks, you want to know more about me? Know this. I am just a simple man and a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. Damn it! But I digress. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and Foster9016 for all things wrestling. And, of course, shout out to the ATW family again on Twitter. We'll be back with another ATW View impromptu some point this month ahead of AEW All Out, talking about this and all things wrestling that has occurred in August. Boy, has this been an August for the professional wrestling industry to remember, to say the least. I'll be back on the Daily Slam, continuing to bring you all elite coverage on AEW Dynamite and Rampage, including recording a Rampage recap review shortly after this video concludes too. And I also will be at AEW Dynamite live next week, as well as seeing Rampage. That's right afterwards too, right here in Ohio. So, hey, find me. And also follow me on Twitter, and stay tuned because I might do a live recap from my hotel room if the internet holds up. And, of course, stay tuned to NoDQ. So, yes, NoDQ. I'll be part of their episode 200 roundtable panel. Congratulations again to NoDQ reaching episode 200 on the NoDQ review. And stay tuned, as always, for the heart of this channel. It is the Discipline Predicting Panels. We're all kind, open-minded, and good-hearted professional wrestling fans, including Casey, are always welcome. And they're always live here on this channel. Upcoming, of course, is AEW All Out, Clash the Castle. And now that I know they got Royal Quest, we'll definitely be doing that too. And also, Victory Row is coming up for Impact Wrestling. So stay tuned, folks, for more on all of that. Again, I look at all things wrestling. What can I say? But as always, I'd like to conclude, there are no winners, no losers, no bears. They're just fans with opinions for this passion we all share. At the end of the day, folks, support one another, respect each other, protect your mentality too. Because when it comes to professional wrestling, this industry is both physically and mentally exhausting. I don't think one necessarily outweighs the other, but you need to work with both together too. But just enjoy life and enjoy professional wrestling too. It's as simple as that. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend. Hit the bell to know this video goes live or on demand on this channel. Hit the subscribe button. Help me keep growing this fun wrestling community. Shout out to all 249 of you or 50 of you. I've lost count. Doesn't mean this fun YouTuber creators journey. It's not laying up anytime soon as I approach my 4-year anniversary in this crazy thing called an internet wrestling community. Don't be toxic, folks. Just go listen to Britney Spears. That's all you need.
or
Rest-
if you're
Go
or if
ahead.
you're like us, you can just listen to NJPW.
Hi. For the Wrestling Encyclopedia, Casey Gallagher, I am the Simpleman Noah Foster. Always appreciate you all tuning in to the Simple Man's Take and World in all things professional wrestling too. So until next time, make a positive impact, always if you can, in life. And have a good night. Gokigenyo, sayonara. Casey, the G1 is nearly through. Adieu. And breathe with who you wish to breathe with in the professional wrestling industry too. Is this still his era? Tamatonga might say otherwise. We'll see soon enough.